Welcome to the Swine Health Blackbelt Podcast, the latest swine health research digested for you. My name's Dr. Clayton Johnson, and I'm the host of the podcast. Joining me for this week's edition is Dr. Adam Mueller. Dr. Mueller is the co-owner of Swine Services Unlimited, Incorporated in Rice, Minnesota. Dr. Mueller, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Clayton.
Well, please give the folks a little bit of an introduction if folks haven't met you before. Who are you? What do you do in the industry?
Yeah. So I'm a veterinarian. As Clayton mentioned, co-owner of Swine Services Unlimited, Inc. in Rice, Minnesota. We do consulting with swine producers and also do some research. Have a few facilities that we dedicate solely to research to help advance the industry on new products and whatnot. So that's kind of a quick and dirty background.
JBI helps swine producers fight against harmful pathogens with the forming power of D.V.M disinfectant. JBI helps treat or prevent costly outbreaks and assure eco-friendly biosecurity on farm and transport. Safe and effective against PED, 𝗵𝗄𝗏𝗏, E. coli, Salmonella, and other illness-causing pathogens. D.V.M is non-toxic, providing a safer environment for your employees, low corrosive to equipment, and breaks down biofilms. Learn more at jbidistributors.com.
Adam, as I understand it, you've been dealing with some Sapovirus cases.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about, what Sapovirus is and how it's impacted the pigs that you've seen.
Sure. Yep. So have a couple cases. One's a little more advanced than the other, and the one's a little more just starting to occur and whatnot with Sapovirus. And so just kind of what I've seen or what I've dealt with on both of these cases is there's two different types of presentations that I've seen or noticed with Sapovirus. And the first one is in farrowing. We'll see some piglet scours close to that 8 to 12 days of age. It'll appear, a lot of people get it confused with maybe some rotavirus scours, even potentially some coccidia scours, things like that. We don't see a high mortality on the piglets or anything, but definitely can tell the litters that get affected, they get set back pretty significantly. And so that's kind of the first initial presentation. The second one is out in the nursery phase. So what we'll see there is usually sometime between about 3 to 7 days post-weaning, start to see a pretty high prevalence of scours throughout the nursery. Once again, gets pretty easily confused with some rotavirus or E. coli or something like that, and one of your typical post-weaning diarrheas. And so that's kind of the two clinical pictures I've been seeing and dealing with.
Adam, have you seen the nursery flow impacted from sow farms that also see clinical signs in the farrowing? Or does it seem like within a pig flow, it's one or the other? If you see it in farrowing, they'll recover from it. You don't have the issues with the nursery.
Yeah, so I would say it, to me, just in my personal experience, at this point, it's been one or the other. So either you deal with it as an issue in farrowing and don't necessarily have an issue in the nursery, or you deal with it a little more prevalent in the nursery.
I think most producers that have dealt with it have probably had more experience with it on the farrowing side. As you've seen it in the nursery, Adam, what kind of triggered you to ultimately diagnose it? What made you think, well, this is something that needs to be worked up, and we chased the horses, so to say, couldn't find that, and then ended up at Sapovirus, which at least on the nursery side, may be a little bit of a zebra for some folks.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. So, doing necropsies and diagnostics and looking at what, potential causes could be and kind of ruling out some of our other, potential causes. And then getting, tissues to match with changes associated with Sapovirus. So those have been kind of the ways to work backwards to get there.
Gross lesions on those nursery pig necropsies, anything that's obvious when you cut those up and start to look at the intestines that you can share with folks that may be doing necropsies as kind of tips to look for?
Sure. Yep. Not really a lot of obvious lesions, similar to rotavirus. We'll see some, a little thinner walled intestines and colon and whatnot, a little more watery stools in there. So, yeah.
How about on the diagnostic side? What sort of tests did you request to try and rule out the other pathogens and nail down that this is Sapovirus here?
Yep. So do histopath to look at the lesions and changes, and then PCR to see, what type of level or what challenge we have from Sapovirus. And then also looking at ruling out some of the other things like we talked about, the rotaviruses and 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 and whatnot. So
have you seen mixed infections for the most part in the nursery? Are you finding the other bugs too? Or no, we really see everything negative except for the Sapovirus?
Nope, you'll see mixed infections. Yep. And then in those cases, it's severe. Can be severe. Yep. So mixed infections have been can be with the same things. I've seen in a couple cases, rotavirus on top of the Sapovirus, as well as some salmonella. So, and when we kind of work those cases up and go back to the sow farm, what we'll find is we'll find some rotavirus. Sometimes we may or may not find any Sapovirus at that time, and we don't usually find salmonella. So I have to assume in most cases that salmonella is coming secondary maybe to the GI challenge from the rota and or Sapovirus or both.
Within that pig flow, do you see the Sapovirus challenge pretty consistently? Like if the flow's got it, it pops up every site, or does it seem to be more site specific?
I would say that it tends to, in some cases, be a little more site specific. So an example is with this particular flow that I've been dealing with lately, we have two nursery sites that all the pigs go to. One is a hotel style nursery with continuous flow, about 7,000 pigs on that site. And then the other one is a all in, all out 3,000 nursery site. So that site, the all in, all out, tends to be a little less prevalent versus the continuous flow site. Yep.
That certainly makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything you found other than the tincture of time for treatment? So you got a barn full of these pigs that are having issues, and let's open this up to farrowing as well, but I got litters or I got rooms that are scouring. Have you found anything rewarding for treatment, or is tincture of time the best treatment because it's a virus?
Yeah, yep. So to look at the, clinical picture from the sow farm and whatnot, what we've gone to utilizing 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 vaccine twice pre-farrow to help build up maternal antibodies to reduce the clinical infection on the piglets, and then concentrated lime on the mats and the crates, things like that, to help dry up and reduce overall viral load.
What's your timing on that 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 vaccine pre-farrow?
Yep. So the timing that I've utilized has been 5 and 2 weeks pre-farrow.
A 1/10 of a dose, a 1/4 of a dose?
Not full dose.
Full dose.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And then how about on the nursery side? Is there anything you're doing for sites with vaccine or Lyme on the nursery side?
Yeah, so on the nursery side, it's been a little more of a challenge, trying to, in these continuous hotel-style nurseries, trying to do things more by, at least if we can't do it by nursery, by room, as far as chores, boots, things like that, to reduce some infection, making sure washing, disinfecting between each group is getting done efficiently and effectively, and then trying to do more supportive care if a group does break with Sapovirus. So looking at, things like we utilize balance, which is electrolyte, stress and dehydration support. So,
you mentioned the Lyme. Anything else disinfectant-wise that you've found to be helpful or not so helpful in controlling Sapovirus specifically?
I wouldn't say there's been any one silver bullet or any one fail as far as that goes. Yeah. Yep. It seems like for the most part, the washing and, making sure you do a good job there has been critical. Yeah.
Okay. Relatively normal cleanup protocols, maybe with some Lyme thrown in there, seems to be pretty reasonable.
Yep.
And have you tried any vaccine in growing pigs? Have you tried vaccinating them at weaning or anything like that?
Have not tried that yet. Nope.
United Animal Health has been innovating nutrition that feeds the animals that feed the world since 1956. Now a multinational ag biosciences company, we help people impact the health of their animals with less labor, less variation, less drag, less challenge, and less natural resources. Learn more at unitedanh.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Adam, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you sharing your experiences on managing Sapovirus with us. To our audience, thank you very much for joining us on the Swine Health Blackbelt Podcast. If you haven't been to our website, please go and check it out at swinehealthblackbelt.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on our next episode. For Dr. Adam Mueller, I'm Dr. Clayton Johnson. Thanks for joining us and have a great rest of your day.
Hey, everybody. We're always searching for the latest and greatest research to share each week. If you have a swine health related research trial and would like to come on the show and talk about it, share it with us, please feel free to email the research to hello@wisenetics.com. That's HELLO@WISENETIX.com.